At home in New York, as many of you know, I have lots of props. In Washington, not so much, but we have one today. All right. I want to thank Senator Murphy for joining us, not just today, but for the great work he's done in the past few months in so many different areas. Now, 3 months ago, this week, 91 days ago, 91 days, Senate Republicans filibustered the strongest, most comprehensive border security bill Congress has seen in a generation. And they did it for one reason only. Donald Trump, hell-bent on using the border for political gain, told them to do so. When Republicans first saw a bill, they said, wow, this is a strong, tough bill. We like it. The minute Donald Trump said he wants chaos at the border for electoral purposes, they did 180 degrees and didn't support a border bill supported by the Wall Street Journal editorial page, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Border Patrol Union, very conservative and always supporting Trump in the past, because it was a damn tough bill. We all know that the border situation at the border is unacceptable. Everyone knows it. Senate Democrats know it. The President knows it. The American people know it. And our Republican colleagues over and over again said we have to urgently act. Here's what some of the Republican senators said. Quote, one of them, the crisis requires swift, serious, and substantive action. Then that senator voted no. It makes no sense for me to do nothing when we might be able to make things better, said another Republican senator. And then that senator voted to do nothing. This moment will pass. Do not let it pass. That senator let it pass. It's disgraceful. And the American people know it. They support the Democratic position on border, a strong bipartisan bill, pass it now, then the Republican position, let there be chaos and we'll do it later. Every poll, even when you do the words strongly on the Democratic side and strongly on the Republican side, show that people support us by significant margins. So we are on our front foot and we're taking it to them. And that's what we discussed in our caucus today, the things we're going to be doing in the next while. We gave the Republicans 91 days ago, the chance to back up those words, those tough, strong words that we needed to act now, quote unquote, by voting on the strongest border bill Congress has seen in decades. Every Republican voted no. Again, Republicans have made clear the situation at the border is unacceptable. That's why for months we sat down with Republicans, led by the great Chris Murphy, to craft the strongest border security bill in a generation, endorsed by the Border Patrol Union. But Donald Trump told Republicans to kill the bill because he wants to exploit the chaos at the border for political gain. Here's what Trump said. Blame it on me. I remember once when he said blame shutdown on me, and it backfired on him. This is going to do the same thing. He took explicit credit for the bill going down. As I said, the Wall Street Journal called the bill a border bill worth passing. The Chamber of Commerce said, common sense measure. President of the National Border Patrol Council, far better than the status quo. By blocking the best border bill Congress has seen in a generation, Republicans have exposed themselves as con artists when it comes to passing real border security. After all, how many times have we listened to Republicans give speech after speech about the emergency of the border and how it had to be fixed? How many times have we heard Republicans say year after year that Congress must act? All that was for show, because when push comes to shove, when it came time to Republicans to back up their words with deeds, with actions, they chose to block border reform to help Donald Trump. It's very simple. Republicans can't say the border is an emergency and then refuse to act. They can't claim to care about fixing the asylum system and then block the biggest changes on the asylum system in decades. They can't claim to care about our Border Patrol agents and then deprive them of the very tools they need and been asking for. Democrats are going to make it clear which party is working to fix our broken border and which party is conspiring to make it worse. Our Republican colleagues may have given up on acting on the border, but Democrats have not. We're going to challenge our Republican colleagues to join us once again on border reform, that Americans demand to stop the flow of fentanyl, to improve asylum and vetting, to ensure our border agents have the tools they need. Republicans can go on and on and on about the border this year, but their rhetoric, their political ads, and everything else will ring hollow because the border bill they killed in Congress will linger over them like stink on garbage. Senator Murphy.
Thank you very much, Senator Schumer. It's clear as day Republicans are addicted to using the issue of immigration as a political tool. They are allergic to solving the problem. And that is as plain as day for the American people to see. Everybody knows what happened here. Republicans demanded that we begin a bipartisan process to try to come up with some solutions to our broken border. For 4 months, we crafted that compromise requested by Republicans, led by their appointed negotiator, a hard-line senator on the issue of immigration. Senator McConnell was in the room, Senator Graham was in the room, and we produced the most significant, toughest bipartisan border security bill in 40 years. And 24 hours later, after Donald Trump told them to kill the bill because he wanted the border to remain a mess, the bill failed on the Senate floor. But this isn't about politics. The border is still a top issue to Americans, whether you live on the border or in the Northeast or in the Mountain West. And so we are committed to fixing this problem. And we have a piece of legislation that is bipartisan and will do the job. This legislation is tough, but these are tough times that require tough measures. The bill would allow the President of the United States to close down parts of the border during periods of high crossings. The bill would fundamentally reform the asylum system so that no longer are people staying in the United States for 5 or 10 years while their asylum claim is being processed. We would process those claims in days, weeks, or months. It would invest $20 billion in border security, including hiring more asylum officers, more border patrol agents, more immigration judges. It would raise the pay of the people doing the toughest work in the field, as well as providing more technology for them to do their jobs safely. Here's the reason that Republicans opposed the bill: because it would have worked. The bill would have brought our border under control. And Donald Trump made it absolutely clear that he needed the issue of immigration to remain an open wound. He needed the border to remain a mess in order to have a shot at winning this election. Now, I've talked to a lot of my Republican colleagues over the course of the last few months. I know many of them are very uncomfortable living under the thumb of Donald Trump. I know many of them are uncomfortable with the vote that they took. And so we're going to spend the next few weeks trying again, trying to reach out to our Republican colleagues and ask them to do what they said they wanted to get done: the development and passage of a bipartisan, tough border security measure that will get our border under control. Let me lastly say this. The American people, in between the 10-yard lines, believe the same thing. They're proud of America's history of robust immigration. They see it as essential to our future. They want to do right by people today who are living in our shadows, but they feel much better about doing that if the border is under control. Today, there's only one party that is serious about border security, and it is the Democratic Party. We are going to ask Republicans to join us, but at the end of the day, that fact, that reality, is as clear as day as ever before. Thanks, Leader Schumer.
Thank you, Senator Murphy. Senator Schumer, let's go way back there. Look, we're working really hard to get it finished this week in the Senate, and that's what we hope to do.
Schumer,
yes.
Is it appropriate for the Biden administration to hold up the delivery of these 3,500 bombs to Israel while it assesses a potential invasion of Rafah?
Look,
Republicans say this was allocated or appropriated in this bill that just passed.
I believe that Israel and America have an ironclad relationship, and I have faith in what the Biden administration is doing.
Leader Schumer.
What do you make of the fact that Margaret Taylor Greene has continued to potentially call for the Speaker to be ousted, but hasn't yet to do it? What is that?
Well, I'm not going to comment on her shenanigans.
Is the House pass anti-Semitism bill dead over here, or do you still plan to maybe call it up for a
Look, each side ran a hotline. There were objections on both sides. We're trying to figure out the best way to move forward.
Thank you. There's a little bit of news here that the administration supposedly is looking at changing asylum rules for some migrants who might pose national security risk. Have you heard about this? What do you make of that? Would you support such a move?
Look, I know the administration is looking at what they can do administratively, but they and us agree. The best thing to do to deal with the problem on border is pass legislation. That's what we need to do. We have strong, bipartisanly drafted legislation. If Republicans are serious about fixing the border, join us. We can only pass it with Republican votes, Democratic votes and Republican votes, and that's what we should do. For instance, everybody agrees if you want to have the Border Patrol do its job, you need more people at the border. You can't do that by executive order. You've got to do that by legislation. So we believe the best thing to do is legislation. Yes, Burgess.
Are you comfortable with the way that the Maryland Democratic Senate primary is ending, increasingly negative, or would you like those candidates to call off those attacks?
Look, I think the bottom line is very simple. Maryland's a Democratic state. Marylanders know what a Republican administration and a Republican Senate would mean, and they're not going to side with the Republicans. Yes.
Sure. Do you know why the deadline has passed for installing a plaque to honor those who fought to protect the Capitol on January 6th? Are you frustrated that deadline was in March and they were supposed to happen?
I'll have to look that up. I'm not familiar with that. Last one.
Leader Schumer, can you explain why you believe that the government should be loosening laws up when it comes to marijuana, but at the same time seeing a crackdown on Zyn?
Well, the bottom line is that there have been great experiments in the states on legalization of marijuana. Crime hasn't gone up. Drug addiction hasn't gone up. People have more freedoms. And I think overwhelmingly the American people support decriminalization. Even in conservative states, it's on the ballot. Look at Ohio, and it wins overwhelmingly. Thank you.